over there. Look, right there.
Look, right there.
Guys,
Right
that's
there.
a pretty big alligator.
That's a huge one. Look at his face all muddy.
You see it? Yeah,
That's his face.
he's doing a mud facial.
Has to be a woman. She's getting a facial. Look right there.
Look at that one. Oh, he looks hungry. I'd sit down and be quiet.
Wow, he's right on the tip of the boat. Wow.
Alright, you can stand up.
Look at him.
That one right there is about 12 foot long.
Yeah. That alligator right there was like 12 foot.
Super cool.
How do they float?
How do they float?
Are they like fish? They have a swim bladder?
Well, it's not a swim bladder, but it's basically they use their lungs as a swim bladder. So alligators can
huge.
physically slow their heart rate down to 3 beats a minute to conserve oxygen. And what that means is they don't have to breathe as much and whatnot. So they can actually get up on the surface, and unless they're spooked or roused up, they can slow their heart rate just sitting on the surface like that, so they don't have to breathe as often. So if you've ever been in a swimming pool and you breathe in and out, you float up and down pretty quick. An alligator, he gets in there, he takes it to big old deep, just long, shallow, easy breaths, and he doesn't really have to worry about going up and down. So right here behind his eyeballs, that flat spot is the weakest point on his entire skeleton. If I was to shoot him with a pellet gun from here, I could probably kill him, at least penetrate his skull. Now, if he was facing me, I could shoot him with my 45, and all it would do would be just tear a big chunk of hide off and piss him off. The front side of their skulls can get upwards of ½ inch to a little over ½ inch thick, and it's almost dead flat. So if you were to shoot him, it just going to ricochet off. Now, if he's up close and personal, it's probably going to go through. In Florida, we do not, on public lands, you are not allowed to what we call snipe or long distance shoot an alligator. Typically what will happen is if you shoot it, even if you hit it in the brain, its instinctual reaction is to flip over, go down in the deep water. So as soon as they go down in deep water, they can lodge themselves underneath a tree or something along those lines, and you may never get that gator, or when he does float up, he's past the point of a usable carcass.
That's a huge alligator right there.
There are more record-breaking alligators in this section of water from State Road 50 down to 520 than anywhere else in the St. Johns River. Wow. Because it's a protected area, there are dozens of alligators in here. Florida is the only spot in the entire world.
There's an alligator right there.
One right there's popped up. That you can find. You can go into the north end of a freshwater marsh, see alligators, bull sharks, and by the time you exit the marsh, you're down in the lower part of the Everglades, which is a brackish water, salt water, and find crocodiles. The only spot in the entire world that I know of that you can find alligators, crocodiles, and sharks all within the same few miles of water.
This is shallow water, right?
Yeah, we're sitting on the bottom right here.
That's what I thought.
Typically this time of year, these guys would actually be back in here hiding up in this high grass. There's a couple of small little ridges. If you see those wild hibiscus plants that are growing right there, they're right on the top of the ridge. And the ground, even if the water floods up, it's usually only a few inches deep, so the raccoons and bunny rabbits and all this stuff will go right up and down that area.
How big is that alligator?
He's about 10 foot, 11 foot long, so from his nose to his eyeballs, every inch in that gap is a foot in body.
Yeah, his chest is huge.
He's higher up than a regulation basketball goal.
Yeah.
That right there actually looks like Elvis. We have one out here we named Elvis. Most of the ridges on his back, because he's so old, have worn down to just little nubs. And his tail, hold on. Hey, hello. No, not much, doing a tour. Usually it's few and far between when you're not, Jim's Creek is the only place we're on top of each other, really. A lot of the big boats can't get back here to this spot. There's several spots like this all the way down. Now I wish we could get over to that far tree line over to our left over there. There's a bald eagle's nest that's about the same pair have been using it for 12 to 15 years, give or take. It's absolutely huge. It's probably 7 or 8 foot tall up at the top of a pine tree. Absolutely massive. But yeah, Elvis is one. I think that's him right there. His like I said, those little spikes are worn all the way down. And when he stands up on dry ground, typically an alligator from just past the back of his hips, where his tail starts and droops down on the ground. Elvis has got arthritis, so his tail goes straight out for about a foot, foot and a half, and then drops to the ground. And that's usually, if I see him from a long distance, I can tell it's him because his tail goes straight out and then it has this little loop-de-doop. All right, well, I'm going to fire up and go real slow through here so we don't kill any of these guys. I don't like running them over for no apparent reason. I don't know what that is right there. Is that an alligator? Right here. It's either a chunk of mud or an alligator. Oh, that's the back of an alligator. Here's his eyes looking right at me.
Look at him. Look at him.
See ya. Oh my God, he has a huge nose.
Oh, hello. He's like, what are you humans?
See, when the water's real shallow
give me
like this and it's
food?
hot, they can't stay under as long.
Hear him.
The deeper the water is, the cooler the bottom is. It's just like scuba diving. You go down deep and nice and cool, and they can stay under a long, long time.
Yeah, I kind of wish I could just like jump in right now, cool off.
It probably wouldn't cool you off. It's probably so warm it'd probably make you hotter.
Pretty stagnant water.
Yeah, back here it is. All right, here we go. See, these big ones are so used to the tour boats they don't even speak. stick your feet in the water here, go right ahead. So this mound right here is an Indian mound. It dates back almost 9,000 years ago.
What's an Indian mound?
This right here is actually what they call a spoil mound, which is a garbage dump. Because this area 9,000 years ago was a big giant cypress swamp, the local people that were here needed somewhere to get high and dry up out of the water, the floodwaters and whatnot. So they started piling up dead animal bones, fire pits, broken pottery, oyster shells, mussel shells, just piling it up and built this big old mound here. This is called Paw Paw Mound. It dates back, like I said, the people who started it are buried over here in Titusville, and they date back between 6,500 and almost 9,000 years ago. We know these numbers because they actually found 168 bodies that half of which still had soft tissues on their body, whether it be skin, intestines, brain matter that was still gelled. They were buried so deep in the muck that there was no oxygen to deteriorate the bodies. As they uncovered them and excavated more and more, it's actually been regarded as the most well-kept burial ground in the entire world of its type. They predate the Egyptians, burying their dead with tools for their afterlife, so to speak. There's been a lot of turmoil over this burial ground over here because of the facts and figures that have come out of it, and for hundreds of years it was thought to be just the opposite of some of those facts and figures. So there's been a lot of different lawsuits and whatnot trying to throw out different results, and you can't just dispute facts.
Science, no.
So the last people to encompass this island was the Timico Indians up until about the mid 1700s. Reason being is in 1715 a hurricane sank 11 Spanish treasure ships between Sebastian Inlet and down near Fort Pierce area, which is why it's called the Treasure Coast now. In recovery of the treasure, the Spanish used the St. Johns River to get up to St. Augustine to reload the treasure on the boats, ship it back to Spain. Easiest way was the St. John's. They didn't have to worry about any kind of ocean-going vessels stealing their loot. All they had to worry about were these natives that were pretty much, for the most part, unarmed. As they come up here, this new group of explorers brought diseases and skirmishes and whatnot. Now, just like now, 300, 400, 500 years ago in the 1700s, this river gets real low certain times of year. So they actually had little outposts where they would stop when the boat would run ashore full of treasure. They would bring over the pack animals, because they had people that lived in different spots. They would bring the pack animals down, load the treasure up on the animals, drag the boat back to deeper water, fill it back up, and let them be on their way. There are some old timers in the area. I can't tell you where, how far away, but they have certain areas that in the winter time when the water gets real low, like this whole place right here will be dry. You can actually walk across this and not get your knees wet. And they'll go down there with mud pumps and wash all the silt out, and they get metal detectors. They go down there.
Boy, that's what I want to do.
I'll tell you, it is a stinky, stinky job.
I don't care.
First time I ever witnessed it, I was in my teenage years, and I say that they have not found enough to warrant the 40 years of fun that they've had, but they really have just basically covered their expenses. No, they have actually done some excavations in here. There's only 2 mounds that are still around, this one and there's one down south. There's that log that's directly in front of us up in the shade right there. On the left side of the log is actually a concrete marking post for the Geological Survey sign. Marks it as a site of antiquity or something along those lines.
At some point in humanity, there had to be a group that spread out, because they've got mounds in Cahokia, Illinois, and they're protected, and they're huge.
These people here they were of Asian descent. They can trace them all the way back to Asia as they come up through Siberia into Russia, across the ice bridge into Alaska, and all the way down. They actually found a girl sometime in the 1970s in Siberia. But yeah, these people here, they actually related to the girl that they found frozen in ice in Siberia back in the 70s. They did a DNA, and she is an ancestor to these folks here. So yeah, they're of Asian descent, but they are their mounds are found all over North America, Central America, up in Canada. They literally, from what I understand, have no living descendants to this day. They died out as a civilization.
Wow. Captain James, you know what? When I pass this life, I want to go up, and the first thing I want to do is get a movie ticket, go to the big screen with the comfortable seats,
and watch and
watch
the past.
Everything. I want to know all the answers.
I want to know all of it. Yep.
That just fascinates me.
Sure can. Anybody else like a water?
I'm good. Me.
We don't want to drink all your water.
I got a Dr. Pepper I can give you, I guess. You want it?
I get a good pepper.
She's a pepper.
Anybody else for a bottle of water? All right.
Well, I don't want to drink.
No, I got more in the truck.
All right, well, thank you very much.
Not a problem.
Cole, did you want one?
No, I'm good.
Here, you can have some of mine. You want a drink or something? Whoops. Sorry, Nikki. I'm always spilling
I
on
tell you what,
Oh.
I must like you because I gave you my lunch soda.
My Dr. Pepper.
It's a $10 soda.
There you go. Thank you.
All right, we're gonna fire up and then head on back up north and see what else we can find. Hopefully the traffic is clear now that these boneheads are here. Actually, the local guys really aren't that bad. It's these big 15, 18 passenger boats. The reason he don't turn in here unless he sees one of us in here in the shallow water, because he tries to get behind us and push the wakes and push the boat up on dry land to try to get us stuck.
Oh, jeez.
That's what he does on a regular basis.